So I had asked, several weeks ago, um, if you all had any topics that you would like for me to discuss, and Elizabeth wanted to know about how cannabis affects the brain. So, without going into a whole lot of detail and talking about the endocannabinoid system in depth and all that kind of stuff, we're just going to talk about how cannabis affects cognition, memory, mental health. So, we know that if you've been listening to me or if you've been doing your own research, that cannabis has a very wide range of effects on the human brain. But how exactly does it really impact cognition, memory, and mental health? So, as far as cognition goes, um, cannabis has been shown to have both short and long-term effects on our cognitive function. So in the short term, if you have just used THC, you might have acute intoxication from that, and that can lead to impaired attention, memory, and executive function. But these effects really are not long lasting. I mean, they wear off after a little while, and people who do use cannabis regularly don't experience like deleterious effects from that. So studies have even shown that regular cannabis users actually, and this is good news, perform slightly better than non-users on certain measures of executive function. Now, what those measures are, I'm not sure, but I'm sure there's a study out there or something like that will show what kind of research has been done and how what executive functioning has been measured. As far as cannabis and memory, so it can affect your memory. All the extent of that impact is really not entirely clear at this point. But one study did find that high doses of THC were associated with poorer performance on a test of verbal declarative memory, and that's the ability to remember facts and events. But on the other hand, another study showed that regular cannabis users actually had better verbal fluency, and that's the ability to come up with words quickly, than non-users. So it seems that the effects of cannabis on memory may depend on both the dose of the THC and the specific task being assessed. Now, so if you use a bunch of THC and you're not used to it, I guarantee you're going to have some memory lapse, but it's going to come back. And one of the cool things about THC is if you do have some memory impairment, or if you've used too much and you just don't feel good, you can counteract that pretty rapidly by introducing a dose of CBD and or lemon. So there's that. So the last thing I wanted to cover real quick is cannabis and mental health. So there is some evidence to suggest that cannabis may alleviate certain mental health conditions, mostly anxiety and depression. One study found that people who used cannabis had lower levels of anxiety and depression than those who didn't use it. It is important to note, though, that this study only looked at the association between cannabis use and mental health symptoms. It did not show causation. So it's possible that people who use cannabis do so because they already have milder symptoms of anxiety and depression rather than the other way around. So I certify medical cannabis online, and at my job at Recover Us centers. What I'm finding online is that people will, schedule an appointment to be seen, and their major complaints, I would say 7 out of 10 patients, is anxiety and depression. But unfortunately, the state of Illinois doesn't consider that a qualifying diagnosis. So I hope that changes, because a lot of people that have anxiety and depression, of course, they're going to go to their provider, and the provider is going to want them to take, Zoloft or Prozac or Lexapro or Effexor or Wellbutrin or Paxil, one of those SSRIs or SNRIs. And though they have their place and they do work, I would say that using cannabis first before doing that at least gives you an idea of how you respond to plant medicine. So I hope the state changes that, because, they qualify for PTSD. So if you've got that documented, you can get it. but they don't allow a medical cannabis card if you have anxiety or depression. So hopefully that changes. The other thing is benzodiazepines are, handed out pretty readily, and those are really, really, really bad for you in the long run. So much, much, much worse than any kind of cannabis use. So there you go. I hope you guys have a good day. Please, please, I'm asking you as a friend, please comment on the video so it will boost the algorithm. I have a feeling that not very many people are seeing my videos. There's just a small handful of you. And the more of you that comment or share them, the more they're going to boost the algorithm, and the more people are going to get a chance to hear what I'm talking about. I realize I am not special. Anybody can look this up, but I feel like I have a little extra oomph just because I've got the medical background as a provider. So anyway, you guys have a great rest of your day. If you are in the heat wave, stay cool. We are. But Thursday, it's going to be at least 20 degrees lower than what it's going to be today. So looking forward to that. That's the first day of fall, too. So anyway, you guys have a good day.